Well, hello. This will be the third update on our Hungry Horse Model Railroad. In this video, I'm going to show the progress we've made since the last time, and that will take a little bit, and then probably I'm going to dive into some of the details of how I've done the construction. I did not do that so much on the second video, but I did it the first, and I didn't really expect so many people to be interested in that, but it seems like a few were. So I'll probably do a little bit of that here. And then, like I said, my life is dedicated to God. The model railroad is also dedicated to his honor and glory. So what I'm going to try to do is to include just a little spiritual thought at the end of the update. And, if you're interested, you can watch that. And if not, that's fine too. Little teaser for that. Think about the phrase, children of the mind. Have you heard that before? Do you know what that refers to? Okay, so I sent out 2 video updates so far, and I expected just people I knew to watch them. I sent them out to my friends and family, but it turns out I got some more viewers. Someone at work mentioned, hey, this thing has 600 views, when I would have expected it to have like 30 max if everyone I sent it to watched it. So that's pretty cool. If you think that's cool too, if you're enjoying the videos, you can feel free to like the videos, subscribe to the channel. People are always asking you to do that because that means that YouTube will recommend your video or show your video to more people. And for people who earn money off their YouTube channel, that's important to get more and more views. I don't expect to earn money off of this channel, but it is cool to have more people watching it. And so if you want to share it, feel free to like and subscribe. You can also comment. That's another thing that people want you to do. Leave it in the comments below, they say, because the more comments there are in the video, the more engagement. YouTube sees that. They think people commenting on the video must be interested in it, and maybe other people will be interested too. So that's another way you can tell the YouTube algorithm, show this video to more people. I would be interested, for the people that don't know me personally, how did you run across this video? And are you into model railroading? Are you an experienced model railroader? Or are you just getting into it like me? So let me know if you feel like it. Okay, I think it's time to look at what we have on the railroad now. Okay, well, here we have our layout, and we have the other 2 sections, which there hasn't really been any progress since last time, I believe. But lots of work on this middle section, kind of slow work, and we'll get into that. But I have a locomotive on the layout, and the very last thing I did was I actually hooked up the power to it, so I can actually run a train here. I can run a train a very short distance from one end to about here, but nonetheless I can run a train. So let's look at what that looks like. So I can hit this, and the locomotive, you can hear the startup sounds. I can hit a button for the horn, or the bell, turn the bell off. So you can make sounds with the locomotive, which is pretty cool. And then, I can drive it a little bit forward or backwards. So move forward. When it moves forward, you can see that that light in the front comes on. And then I can reverse it. And that light in the back is going to come on because it's in reverse now. And I can back it up and stop it. So that's my little locomotive running. Let's get it off of the turnouts. So I also want to show those. Okay, so most of the work has been on these 4 turnouts here. So I have 6 turnouts total. These 4 on this side are done, and I still have those 2 to finish. So I have the switch machines mounted under the table, and so I can change these turnouts with the controller here. So you can see that this turnout and this turnout, I'm going to I'm going to switch those. So I select that turnout, hit throw, and you can see both of these moved. And now I can actually take my train, and of course it'll take the other path now. Can't go very far there. But there we go. Bring it back off of there. Hello, that's Rocket, our guinea pig in the background. There's another one named Hershey, which we just got, hiding out somewhere. Okay. So I have these two turnouts connected together, and then these two turnouts connected together. So I can just select which turnout set. So that was set 2 that I had activated before. So I can move it to 1. Very simple, like it's the first one from left to right, the first set. So 1, 2, and that'll be set 3. So I'm on set 1 over here. I'm going to press the button, and we'll see both of these switching positions. So that is very cool to me. That's what we can do on this layout so far. Now I'm going to take the train off and turn it up so that we can see what it looks like on the bottom. Okay, so here's the underside of this center module, and I'm not sure if I have shown, I don't think I showed any of the wiring, what it looks like before, but this is what it looks like, and it's improved since I first did it. But we have, you know, the power controller here, and we have a wire going here. This is, I can disconnect it here, and then that goes here. And I have these nice little solderless connectors where I can join the 3 wires. So this is the power and the DC6 signal. And then you have this DCC bus, which runs basically parallel to the track. It's hooked to the ends here. So when I join the sections together, it'll get transfer power to the other sections. And this is my first set of track feeders. So there's a kind of a splice here. This is another kind of connector where you don't have to solder it. It's called a IDC insulation displacement connector. So that's pretty convenient. You don't have to cut wires or anything. You just kind of run it through there and run the wire you're attaching it to there, and then you use some pliers to press it down, and it makes that connection, and then you just snap it closed. So these are my feeder wires to the track here, and we can come over to the other side and kind of see where that is. Which we can, it should be hard to see. Here it is right here. So I have the wire coming up and it's soldered to the rail there. And then here on the other side should be right there. You can kind of see it, I think. So yeah, now I only have 1 set of feeders, and that's all. I'm going to be running feeders to several different places, and I'm going to be soldering the connections between the pieces of track together so that they'll get a better connection over time. But that's what we have there. And then we have the switch machines. The switch machines also get their power from this DCC bus. And then that is going into here, that goes into here, and then they're kind of just daisy chained together, all of the switch machines. And then these green wires are for the frogs. The frog is the part of the turnout where the rails kind of cross, and so that is a frog. The thing about it is, depending on which way the switch is thrown, the frog, if the train is going through here, then the frog needs to have the polarity of this rail. But if the train is going straight through here, then the frog needs to have the polarity of this rail. So the frogs in these switches are isolated from the rails beside them, but you can hook them up. So I've got the wire soldered down there to the frog, which is a whole process, which I may do another video on. But anyway, those wires are soldered there and are coming out here. And so eventually I will connect those wires to these switch machines here. So these, when the switch machines throw, you can see there's like, we might be, no, I think it's on the other side. But anyway, these are little contacts things. So Depending on which way the switch machine is thrown, this center one, the center terminal will be connected to either this one or this one. And so, you know, you can connect the red wire to one and the black wire to the other, and depending on which way the switch is going, then that'll connect the center one to either one of those, and you can get the correct polarity to the frog there. That is about it for what I've done and, you know, what we have here so far. Like I said, I'll be, you know, running more feeders and soldering more. But of course, the main thing to do is to finish these turnouts. These are just pinned into place. You can see there's glue, you know, on all of this track that's finished. These turnouts and this piece of track here are just pinned into place. So I will be installing these switch machines. That's really what takes a lot of time, because you got to drill through, get them perfectly aligned. Yeah, may make a video on that too. But that's where we are now. So I guess I will go back and look at what we did since the first video. I think in the first video, I didn't even have any of this foam top here. I just had this frame made, and I had plywood on top of both of these modules, but I didn't have plywood on top of this module because this one's more complicated. So what I did then was I cut this foam, and I glued it to the two other modules. But for this one, I didn't glue it because I had to make this cutout. So I put all the modules together with the foam there, and then I started laying out the track. So I would lay out the track, and I'd pin it down to make sure it fit in place. And I'd start with Sharpies. I'd mark where the track went, and you can't see now because we have this road bed here, but would also mark the center line of where the track went, because this cork road bed is in two halves, so having where the center of the track goes is helpful for laying this in the right place. So I'd pin the track down, kind of draw along the outsides of the track with a Sharpie, and then you know, take it out and draw along the center line of the track. Anyway, so I did that, but the main thing was I was trying to figure out how would the track go here, how would it bend, where would the river be? So I, you know, put the track here, kind of how I liked it, made sure that it wasn't too sharp of a bend. I had some old pieces of 22-degree radius sectional track, and so I could use that to make sure, you know, none of these bends were sharper than a radius of 22 degrees or 22 inches. And so I got this kind of how I liked it, and drew on the surface on this foam here, drew where I kind of wanted the river to be. And then what I did is I actually cut the river out of this foam, because I needed to transfer where the river went. I needed to transfer it down to the plywood so I could cut that. So what I did is I cut the foam out, and to do that I used this tool, which my wife had. It heats up and just slices really easily through that foam. And it's kind of a nice cut here, not too jagged. The other cuts I made were with a razor blade, and so that didn't end up so pretty. So if I had known, I would have used that electric tool. But this will be covered up by like the front board or fascia, so it shouldn't be noticeable. Anyway, so I did this cut, so I had these pieces of foam in the right place, and then I laid them on top of this plywood rectangle and traced along the borders there. And I actually traced along here. This is the line that I actually traced. That's where I wanted the river to be. But then I thought, okay, I want kind of a bank sloping down, so I need to have a little bit of extra. So I went a little bit back from where I traced where the river should actually be, and drew there. And then with a jigsaw, I cut this out. And so then I had, you know, the plywood kind of in the shape that I needed. Now, I believe I had to because it's recessed, I had to make a cut here and a cut here to cut enough off so it would be able to recess and go in there. And then, of course, I had to support it. Here on this beam, which goes across, I cut down, at the right position so it would support it at a lower level. And then on the other places where it goes to the edge of the frame, I added these blocks, which are screwed in from the side, and then this plywood is screwed in from the top. So you've got that there, and you've got there, and you've got kind of lost across there. So that is how I ended up with this river. We'll see how that works eventually when we get the scenery. Can we fit a bridge across here and everything? I'm sure I'll eventually get something that kind of works. Hopefully it'll be cool. And there'll be a hill, here, and the tunnel will be from about here to about here. So after that process, we had marked where the track went on the foam. So the next step was to lay down the roadbed. Now, one thing somewhere along there that I realized was, as I was laying out the track plan there, I had the turnouts butting right up against the edge. So I had the turnouts running all the way to the edge of the table. But I realized that if I did that, there wouldn't be enough room for the switch machine, because you see the switch machine needs to fit in there. It's got the pin here, and it still needs some room to attach it there. So if I set the turnouts back an inch from the edge of the table to give room to install that switch machine. So glad that I saw that in time before I really laid any track or anything. So yeah, then it was laying the roadbed, which the roadbed you kind of have to split the roadbed in half, and then one of the sides ends up being pretty rough, so you kind of file or sand that down, and then glue the roadbed down. And you can use these pins to hold it in place as you're figuring out where it goes, or as you're gluing it down. What I used for gluing it down was this liquid nails for projects, use a spreader like this to kind of drop a line of the glue and spread it out nice and thin and wait for it to dry. So that's how I attached the roadbed, and how the track is also attached to the roadbed. And you can see that glue here, kind of white. Eventually, once I get to doing scenery, there will be ballast, the little rocks, gravel rocks that actually form the roadbed, and they'll go on top of this, so you won't see this glue there. So I think that was basically the process. The process for installing the turnouts is a lot more involved, and maybe I'll go over that in the future. But that's what we have. So hopefully before long I can get these 2 other turnouts, and then we'll be laying more track, getting the modules connected together, getting the connections between the modules working. But we're moving along, and sometime soon we'll be able to actually run trains on the whole thing and do some switching. So I'm looking forward to that. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly enjoy showing off my model railroad. So Children of the Mind, what is that? Well, Children of the Mind, for science fiction nerds or just people who like it, you might know that Children of the Mind is the 4th book in the Ender's Game series. Ender's Game was a very good and very well-received novel. And anyway, Children of the Mind is the 4th book in that series. And in that book, the name Children of the Mind means a few different things, but one thing that it comes from is in the far future, when humanity has, colonized a bunch of different planets. In this book, the Catholic Church is still a thing, and there is this order of priests and monks, and they go by the name of the children of the mind of Christ. And their belief is that priests and nuns, not priests and monks. Their belief is that they should actually get married. So the priests and the nuns get married, but they don't have sex. So that's interesting. Well, anyway, I think this is entirely an invention of the author, but the name Children of the Mind of Christ, I think the children part of it is something he just made up, but the mind of Christ is something you can find in the Bible. And I like the text in Philippians 2, verse 5. It starts and it says, in King James, which is like old-fashioned English, it says, "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus." Now, more modern translations, which are probably easier to understand, say something like, "Your attitudes should be the same as that of Jesus Christ." So we should have the mind of Christ. We should have the same attitude as he did. Well, what is that? Well, just keep reading and it'll tell you. So it says, "Your attitude should be the same as that of Jesus Christ, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the very form of a servant." So Jesus was God. He had all the power and authority and everything, but he gave that up. And he said, "I'm going to be a servant." And it goes on and says, "And being found in appearance as a man," so he became human, "he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on a cross." So it's these successive levels of like everything that Jesus was giving up. To come down from God to being human is already like an infinite drop, infinite sacrifice. But he didn't come to be just any human. He didn't come like as a human king to rule the whole world. He came as a servant, right? And he came not just to serve, but he came to die. And he came not to die, but to die the worst death, the most painful and shameful death that there was, which was to be crucified. So the text goes on and says, because Jesus did all this, it says, "Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place." But the mind of Christ is that he made this sacrifice for us. He did not care about all of the stuff that he had. He did not care about who he was. He cared about you and he cared about me. And he said, "I'm going to make this sacrifice for these people that I love." So the mind of Christ is this self-sacrificing love that says, I'm not going to look out for my own interests. I'm going to do whatever it takes to show my love, to save these people. So we're supposed to have that same mind. We're supposed to have that same sacrificing love. And when we think about our life, I think that a lot of people who aren't very religious, they're like, "Oh, well, I'm a pretty good person, right? I don't steal, I don't cheat, I don't murder, and probably I help other people. I'm nice, probably I help people, probably I, work for good causes, could give to charity or whatever." And so when you compare yourself to other people, you can end up thinking, I'm okay. But when the Bible says we should be comparing ourselves to Jesus, that's who we need to be like. And so when we look at Jesus, we realize that I'm not like that. And I can't be like that. I just don't have it in me. And so, but God says, what's impossible with man is possible with him. So we need his help so that we can be like him. So when we look at Jesus and what he's done for us, it makes us fall in love with him. It makes us realize how much we're lacking and how much we need him. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you all next time.